that we're late all the time, so it's no surprise to anyone who's in the chat right now.
Yeah, basically, if Half the Supremacy is having a stream, just plan for it to be 30 minutes, 15 to 30 minutes late.
Yeah. But yeah, we're very excited to have Aaron Berg with us. For those who don't know who he is, I'll let him introduce himself as we do with all the other guests that we have. So Aaron, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Aaron Berg, and I'm a stand-up comedian, and I live in New York City.
Oh, there you go. Right to the point.
Yeah, that was really to the point.
Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to ask you, you did Michael Malice's show, You're Welcome, recently, about a couple of weeks ago. So how was that like, kind of, because you two weren't really, I guess, didn't really know each other. So what was it like, you know, doing his show, and then what was it like afterwards? Did you guys hang out after that or not?
I love Michael, but I wasn't that familiar with his work, but I just knew that he was on the same network as us, and you know, I love everything about the network. And he asked me to come in after I'd done a show in Toronto called White Guys Matter, and there was a whole bunch of backlash to that. And then preceding said backlash, there was a whole bunch of education on the current status of stand-up comedy to people, I guess, that we would call hobbyists. And I think that kind of intrigued Michael. I think that aspect of it, wanted him to have me on the show. So I went on, and it was great. He's brilliant. And I just heard today that he's branching out, and he's going to be doing 4 nights a week, doing like a late night type show, which is great.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was watching Burning Bridges, which is, it's my favorite show on the network, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Kevin's just, I don't know, he's ridiculous. He blocked me on Twitter one time, but he didn't block me anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, because I said something he didn't like.
About gun control.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I mean, Kevin really wants these guns out of the country so that kids can be safe. And, you know, I see his point to an extent. My favorite thing about Kevin's show is he gets the best callers. He has so many talented people that call in that from Leslie Jones to today. There was that woman that wants to sue her parents because she's so ugly. He really gets great callers. I don't know how he accesses these people, but he's got, you know, he has friends in high places to get these type of callers.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it either, but he's got some people, I guess, that helps him do.
Did he unblock you since?
Yeah, he's unblocked me because I actually called about it and was like, we talked about it. I was basically kind of explaining to Brian because he wanted to know why he blocked me in the first place. So I kind of explained it to him, and then Kevin went into his whole, NRA, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian is because he has no vision. I think what happened is part of his brain deteriorated with his eyes, so I don't think he's that intelligent. But yeah, I love the show, and my favorite show is obviously Talib Stark's show. I love that. And then there's another one called In Hot Water that I watch sometimes, but I'm so rarely able to get there on time to see them live. But yeah, the network's great. I love everything about that network, and I love what they're doing and how they're growing, and it's such an honor to be a part of it. I mean, it's really like a grassroots thing that happened from Cumia getting fired for, I don't know what he did. There was some kind of Twitter thing and a lady and blah, blah, blah. But for him leaving Sirius was probably the best thing to happen.
Yeah, and now with, Jim and Sam doing a thing and Opie having his podcast now. Now you have 3 shows instead of just the 1. So
yeah, it's going to, something big's about to break out. I think the city needs a really strong early morning show. You know what I'm saying? I think
like what time? About like 8 in the morning?
Yeah, I think 8 would be perfect because there's nobody really, there's no one throwing real shock jock radio around anymore. Howard's too old. Jim and Sam are kind of settled into their ways. And then Sirius has Nikki Glazer in the morning, but that's a 10 o'clock spot. And I don't see that.
Nikki Glazer considered edgy?
Yeah. I don't see that as I feel like it's more like an Oprah, a white Oprah in the morning type of thing. So, and I love Nikki; she's very funny. But
how dare you, white Oprah? How dare you?
So Malice is a great jumping off point. And I didn't know that you guys were supporters of the network, so that makes me feel very comfortable. What's the relationship between the two of you?
We're going out.
Yeah.
Go out. That's a good way to put it.
Are you're going steady? Well, and you live in Dallas. What do you guys do?
What do you do?
What do I do? Oh, I'm in healthcare, but I guess as far as like on the internet, I'm just a shit poster on Twitter.
Nice.
Yeah, she has a really good following for
sorta.
Yeah, and I have not as big of a following as her because I don't shit post as much as her, but I try my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't know when you're sarcastic or if you're being serious, though.
Yeah, that's probably my problem. That's like with my thing with Kevin. Going back to that, when I majored at NRA,
yeah, you were being sarcastic and you took it seriously.
Yeah.
So,
I find it's hard because sometimes when you do a joke on Twitter, people don't know it's a joke and they just take it so serious. I got in trouble for my trans Muslim tweet a while ago, and I think that cost me a lot of pussy friends. But I did basically like, you know, it's always a joke, but people get offended by it so easily. It's crazy. Someone said that they wish that my kids were killed after that last school shooting the other day, because I wrote the solution is let's eliminate schools. Nobody likes schools. Why don't we just get rid of schools? Problem solved. And then they got very upset. So people go from 0 to 100 on Twitter. It's so much fun.
Are you talking about just like all schools all together, or like any particular school?
Yeah, my joke was get rid of schools, and then there'd be no more shootings. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's my baby.
People got mad.
Yeah, people get mad all the time. It's funny. But when it's live, when you do it as stand-up, people don't get mad because they get the intonation and they get the likability behind it, so they laugh.
Yeah, it's easier to do it behind, like, you know, a computer keyboard or your phone. It's so easy to be outraged. But when it's in person, it's, you know, they might hit you or something.
Well, especially if it's stand-up, then people will laugh.
Right.
They can see your face and how you're saying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your show In Hot Water, that definitely needs an 8 o'clock, 4-day-a-week show. Not that I know anything about that, but
right.
I think when you're talking about your Muslim tweet or your trans Muslim tweet, whatever. I mean, your character ISIS faggot is basically. Well, how would you describe him?
ISIS faggot is, you know, he demands equality. He's just a good, strong Muslim man that's in touch with his straight sexuality, and he loves women because that's what the Quran tells him to do. And he's a peaceful man, and he just loves hanging out with other dudes and being manly. He's, you know, he's just a dude, man. Just a dude that shot up a nightclub. He's just a guy like the rest of us. We all have our inner Orlando guy.
No, I have our problems, right?
I love ISIS faggot. I mean, I rode the elevator with him once, but I heard he's doing an album, which is going to be so exciting. He's waiting to see if he can record that at Skankfest this year. He's a great guy. He's very funny. I've seen his stand-up too. He's done stand-up at West Side Comedy Club a couple times, and he's in there. He's topical. He's smart. He doesn't care. He wears a tank top on stage. He's brave. He's really a brave guy.
How's his dad doing?
His dad, he hasn't seen for a while. There was a pressure cooker incident on 23rd in Chelsea, and he's asking his dad to come back, but his dad is, I think he invested in some company named Gas Digital or something. So he's over at Gas Digital all the time. I don't know what it is. It sounds like a chemical company.
Yeah, he needs to. Yeah, it does. They need to hang out again. I think kind of missing him.
Yeah. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah. It's a shame that you keep missing him, though, because I think you two would get along if you're on the screen together.
Are you sure? I mean, I like. So. I don't know if I need to be hanging out with another single guy that's running around crushing pussy all the time because I got a wife and I can't be in that kind of scenario anymore. I'm older. I get to go to strip clubs once in a while, but that's it. I don't need to be hanging out with a puss hound like him.
Yeah, he does get all the ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Phil?
Great guy, great American. loves everything that America's about, man. Loves big trucks, loves country music, loving some Toby Keith. I think he's going to see Zach Brown Band, even though it's easy listening for him. He likes doing that. He believes all people are equal, and you can't judge a person by their skin color unless their skin color is different. And yeah, he's just a great guy. You know who he voted for? He's a goddamn American. He's unapologetic. He hangs out with everybody that's unapologetic. He don't give a shit.
Didn't he vote for Hillary Clinton?
I don't think he would, and if he were here, he probably would have some choice words for you after that. I think he got a tattoo on his chota, right between his nuts and his butthole. It says "Lock her up," and lock her is on one side, and up is on the right side, right underneath the balls, and there's an arrow pointing up to the asshole.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe the lock her up was talking about lock her up for the presidency. Maybe that's what they're.
No, he means lock her up. He means he wants her to go to jail. I don't think he's done. I saw him at the last rally the president was at. He was in the back. He was confused because he had one of the signs that said "Blacks for Trump," and he was just. I think he grabbed whatever sign he could when he went in. He was late.
Oh, he just wanted to get there and show up, right?
Yeah. The interesting thing about him is that his eagle is a rescue. Yeah, he was in Seattle where there was a whole bunch of them, and he just took one and flew it back with him down to Tallahassee.
Yeah. So now that ISIS Faggot's having his own CD, and he's getting pretty popular. He's kind of like Chip Chipperson in a way, right? I mean, if those two were in the room together, that'd be interesting, right?
Chip Chipperson and ISIS Faggot would probably be, that'd be a good show. I don't know who books that, but we got to figure out a way to do that. I've never met Chip in person myself either. I mean, Norton I've seen a few times and we know each other, but I've never met Chip. That'd be a cool moment.
So getting away from all the compound characters for a little bit, I wanted to actually kind of ask you because being a stand-up, obviously you're going to have some nights where it's going to, be great, and other nights it's going to suck. So what's the story that you remember about when you bombed, and how did that go for you, and how did you handle that?
When what? Sorry, hang on. Give me 1 second. I got to move. Give me a second. Apologies. I'm going outside. Look at that. Outdoor space. How beautiful is that?
It's nice.
Oh, that's much better. And now I just look like a floating head.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, what I was saying was a time when you bombed and how you handled that.
The last big bomb I had, I was getting ready to submit a half-hour tape to Netflix, and I was at Gotham Comedy Club. And it just when you're bombing, you're just basically on autopilot and you're just saying the stuff and there's no emotion to it. I bombed that, and it wasn't a big show. I bombed on Roast Battle on Comedy Central before, and that sucked. It sucks to bomb. But yeah, I don't bomb that much anymore because I've been doing it so long. So you kind of know how to get out of it. And bombing's not fun, but you have to do it sometimes.
What was it like the first time that you bombed? How was that for you?
Oh, you're just like, okay, I shouldn't be doing this. I got to find something else to do. And then you'll do comedy again because you just feel like you have to. And it goes better inevitably. But the first few years, it's shit, good, shit, good, shit, good, 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 shit, good, good, shit, good, 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 shit, good, good, good. And it keeps getting better and better usually.
What about when you see other people bomb? How's that? Because I hear for some stand-ups, when they see other people bomb, it makes them happy and it makes them
Oh, sure. I mean, once you're like a pro, you don't really give a shit because you're not really watching other people. But it's so fun to watch people bomb. There was a guy a week ago that was all cocky, and he had like 2 industry people there, like a big agent and a booker from a late night show. And he was all cocky, and he went up and just ate a brick of shit. And to watch him slink off the stage after being on, it's great. I mean, that's where that expression that Colin Quinn said, where like, it's not justice, but it's as close to justice as you can get. That's where that expression is most poignant. But there's other, I mean, stand-up as an art form is full of justice, but also as a business, it's not. You know, there's a lot of stuff happening in the industry where it's not the funniest people getting stuff anymore. It's more of a casting call. It's just the way the business works.
Do you know like what your biggest accomplishment would be in terms of your stand-up? Like, is there a venue that you play at that you've always wanted to play at, or a joke that you always wanted to tell, and then when you told it and it got a big laugh? That, you know.
I love my rape joke right now. I think it's not the best joke I ever wrote, but I think it's the timeliest and the most fun to do. Where I say you can't joke about rape, but I'm a rape survivor. 8 rapes, no charges. I'm surviving. I think it's a really fun joke. And then when I got in trouble for that White Guys Matter, women were like, "We're coming for you," and I was like, "It's a joke. You're not going to find 8 people out there." So that was fun to do. And then I crafted one really good joke. I don't do it anymore. And I just like, I mean, I'm very happy every day. I get to do what I want every day. I work at the best clubs. I get to perform as often as I want. You know, I get to work on little side projects. Doing, being at Compound Media is a really big thing for me because it's like, we can't get fired.
Yeah.
So it's just it's such a great place to be. We can't get fired. Like any of the shit that happens that somewhere else people would be like, "Oh, we can't touch him." They're like, "Yeah, we got to give you a raise." So it's so fun. It's great.
I think you'll get the 4 days, because I mean, if they're gonna give Kevin 2 days and they're gonna give Michael 4, I mean, come on. I mean, it's just a matter of time, right?
Yeah, we've already discussed it. There'll be a big announcement coming up, probably within 2 weeks, I would imagine.
Okay.
We're going to Gas Digital. That's what it is.
Oh,
yeah.
right. I was gonna think, yeah.
No,
the gun on that, you know. So
yeah. I like that you're very up to date with all the stuff. It's cool. It's like talking to a professional. It's amazing.
Yeah, actually, sometimes, you know, I don't want to say I'm like 5 years behind, you know.
Yeah.
What is this? Where's Compound Media? I don't know. Isn't Anthony still on Sirius XM?
Yeah. So this guy that makes women ride Sibians, how edgy is he?
Yeah. So someone in the chat is asking your thoughts on comedians refusing to perform on college campuses.
Sure. Good for them. I mean, most of those comics that are refusing to do it are like this. I guess they're talking about like the Seinfelds and stuff. Seinfeld wasn't a big college act to start with, but yeah, once you're established and you're making a living, you kind of get to say where you will and won't perform. And I won College Comedian of the Year in 2007 back in Canada. When you were allowed to push limits. So there was myself, Jason Rouse had won it a couple of years before, and Jason's way dirtier than me. And then I moved to New York, and I was like, "Hey, I'm College Comedian of the Year." And they're like, "How? You can't." They go, "You have to be so clean for the colleges here." I have a couple friends that do them, and they make, you know, it's a good payday for a night or something, but I don't think any of them enjoy them. But good, you know, I think that stand-up is meant to be the last bastion of free speech after the press, which, you know, dissolved slowly. There's, you know, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy guy, but it's like how much real news is really out there. You have to watch so many different things to find out what's really happening now. You can't just watch one news source or read one news source. You have to take everything in, and then you use your logical brain to figure out what's happening. But stand-up has this great quality now where the more that PC culture comes in, the more valuable free speech and comedy is. So even if it's pushed aside and all these to come back, and even if all the great comics cease to exist in a mainstream world, there will become a speakeasy quality to stand up where people are going to seek it out and go to these basements, which are already established, these clubs, and be like, "Oh, let's go in here and really hear some shit," and be offended. So I really feel that. Like, it's not, there's no way the art form is going to dwindle, which isn't what I expected. You know, politically, I think I had these expectations, and I would say that I didn't vote in the election because I'm a Canadian citizen. But I think a lot of people thought that when Trump president, we're going to have free reign to do whatever we want, la da da. And it went the exact opposite way, where there was this clenching in on language and on behavior. And I don't think that was it. I think that's what people thought would happen if Hillary became president. It was like, our words, they're coming for our words and our gun. But it's it went the opposite way that we expected. I mean, there's still great things that are happening. I love saying great. And but I think stand-up is going to be one of those things that the art form is not going to die. And the more constricted language gets in the mainstream and in the media, the more valuable comics that are, for lack of a better term, edgy or provocative, they're going to reap the rewards of that.
Yes, the stand-up comics being completely different. It's weird because you look at say whatever they want. Really watch what you say. It's like, are we even looking at stand-up comics anymore? It just seems like we're just watching, the PC police in a way.
Yeah, it's lost that quality of like, oh, these are jokes, and it's like, oh, this is what this person said. So there's a tendency to attack. It used to be just buzzwords, but now it's like paragraphs and sentences. Like when they went after Louis for like look, he's admitting he was jacking off in front of people, all that kind of stuff. So I think we're hyper aware of it, but I also think, and I've always said this, I go, I'm not in a position for them to take anything from me. They can't take my TV show. They can't take my movie, because I'm a club comic. I'm basically just a nightclub act at this point in time. So that's, the clubs that I work with will work with me regardless of the type of controversy I have on me. And boycotts are just plain un-American and don't really work. I saw they were calling for Mark Norman to be boycotted.
Yeah. I saw that too. I guess it was funny too because he made a joke about that. Someone like, you should boycott him. He's like, we don't say boycott, we say people caught.
No.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It's great.
And then someone said, I can't remember who it was, but it might have been me, where someone said like person caught, or he said person caught or something like that. I said, actually, we say people caught because son suggests that someone had a boy, and you're alienating those who had a daughter. So come on.
Yeah. That's so great. I do a joke now where I say you can't say tranny because it offends people with cars. And I go, you have to use the new term, which is the part of the engine which connects to the dual overhead camshaft and had its penis cut off.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. What do you think?
About what? About everything?
Yeah, about everything.
I'm just I can hear it. Oh, that's weird.
What?
Sorry.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, there was an echo. Oh, I can still
there
hear
is.
it.
I guess there isn't.
Echo.
There you go.
I think there's sirens going on behind me.
Might be it. They're probably not. Hey, especially when you said ice fag and all that stuff.
Yeah. How's the chat room? Blowing up?
A little bit. That's what I was asking about the college campuses too. Have you performed in college campuses before, obviously, because you won the award for that. Why do you think college campuses are like that nowadays? Do you think it's mostly because of just the environment we live in now, or do you think it was like leading up to that for a long time? Or do you really think it's the Trump effect, where just because Trump's president, everyone's going to be all like,
No, I think it was leading up to it before that, but it's not. It's a real problem that the college systems in America are no longer, rebellious in terms of provoking thought, which is a concern. And you're seeing people like burning books and taking words out of the verbiage and stuff like that. But I guess. And I could see the other side of it where it's like, okay, they are rebellious against the power structures. So maybe that's how the colleges look at it. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to school now, but maybe I would want my daughter to, or my trans son. I don't know.
Trans son, yeah.
He'd feel great playing field hockey.
Yeah. Being pitcher and baseball, I'm sure you like that. let's see. So someone else in the chat as well, they're asking what you think of comedians who push political correctness. Do you think they're a detriment to comedy?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? You think because, you know, do you think they're trying to push them, you know, because I mean, obviously like being political is like the hot topic or the hot thing to do now when you're stand up. So, you know, people like Bill Maher, you know, who's obviously very political, but I think even he can kind of weave his way into being, I guess, moderate in a way or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it was not, you know, oh, you know, fuck Trump and we hate him, whatever. Because I mean, like, but then someone like Nick DiPaolo, who's obviously more on the pro-Trump side, you know, he can be that opposite where he's like, you know, fuck Democrats or whatever. So he's like one of the rare comics who are like that. And I guess Owen Benjamin can be like that too nowadays too. But almost like 95% of the comics nowadays are just, you know, fuck Trump, don't make gay jokes, don't make fun of women, don't make fun of, you know, all that stuff. It's so stupid. I don't know why it's like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I did the White Guys Matter show in Toronto, was exactly that reason, because that scene was dominated by a bunch of hobbyists that were really trying to push an agenda onto comedy, and they weren't really doing comedy. And when you see the hypocrisy in it, where they're like, we need to be brave comics, and then you would watch their comedy was like, my period hurt, and it was like all this old stuff that was like throwback, you know, hacky stuff that they would make fun of in the 80s. So it wasn't progressive. They were pushing an agenda of inclusiveness so that they could work their ways into positions in the industry. Basically saying, yo, funny isn't what should matter. What should matter is being inclusive and being aware. That's how we should base our meritocracy on, is this inclusiveness, not funny, not laughs. So they were wrong. And it was, you know, that was a really exhilarating time for me, was to go back to Toronto, which was my hometown, and do that show and put those people in their place. And even the media was so, like the Now magazine, which covers comedy, which is like a Village Voice, but a Canadian version of it. And they had a writer who was like a hobbyist female comic who was pushing her agenda. And all the research she did was like, well, I looked up stuff on Twitter, and I'm like, that's not an article. And she was called out by people of color that were like, why didn't you interview people of color for a White Guys Matter show when it was clearly making fun of Black Lives Matter? And she goes, no people of color commented on Twitter. They're like, this is lazy writing. Like, how do you have the guts to call that journalism when all you did was go through your limited Twitter feed? And it was great to watch these people be decimated by people that use logic. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I saw a bunch of people criticizing the White Guys Matter show on Twitter, and one of the big ones that blew up was a girl who's, I guess she's a comedian in, I don't know if she's in America or if she's in Canada, but she runs a podcast called The Crimson Wave. So I tried to, and it was, I just was like, I'm gonna throw up, because all I did was talk about period.
Yeah. That's who it was. That was Jess Beaulieu, I believe, and then they brought her on to satellite radio to argue her point with me, and it didn't end well for her. It was nice to be able to channel a little inner Patrice without the diabetes. It was a nice feeling.
So you guys talked about it? Yeah,
she came on the radio, and she wouldn't look at me. She insulted my wife. My wife was in there. I was in the bathroom, and she came in, and someone goes, "This is Aaron Berg's wife," and she was like, "Ugh." Like that, and then sat down. I know that's what a feminist would do. And then you see like the hypocrisy of it, and then sat down, wouldn't face me, and wouldn't make eye contact with me, which made it so much easier to destroy her argument, because she wasn't connecting to another human being. She just came in with these preconceived thoughts in her head that she thought she could dole out, because she had this image of me as this racist, hateful misogynist, and not just a person that deals in all realms of comedy. So it was great to, it was just great to serve her. And I haven't heard anything from her since.
You should have just been like this the whole time. She wasn't looking, just be like, you know, or she's like this. And
yeah.
Like, I have an opinion about you. What do you think?
Just
but she's not gonna look at you.
Yeah.
Just yell at her ear the whole.
I wish I could hear. Yeah. I wish I could hear the interview.
That interview. Yeah, it's up. If you just Google my name and her name, it'll come up. There's a YouTube There's not video, but there's an audio clip of it. Aaron Berg versus Jess Beau. It should come up there.
Some French name, right?
Yeah. It sounds like a girl giving a horrible blowjob when she's too drunk.
Like what's his name? What's his name? Le Petit on in Hawaii. What's his name?
Petit Jeremy. Le Petit Jeremy. Oui.
Yeah,
Oui.
Yeah.
Mike Ward, he sued him. Yes, and don't know what happened with the money, but Le Petit Jeremy. Pourquoi?
Yeah, Jeremy, there you go. Yeah, that's him. He was so funny. I love that. Love that guy.
How long is your podcast? What do you guys do? Like 4 hours?
Crazy.
We usually try to keep it to about an hour. It usually depends on how it goes, because sometimes we've done it for 2 hours, other times we've done it for an hour. It really depends.
Yeah.
Awkward sentences there are.
Yeah. Sometimes I do David Feldman's podcast. I think his is like 7 hours. He only keeps people on for half an hour, but he has so many different guests on each episode. It's so long.
That's like he does like every day almost.
I know. I don't know. Even Joe Rogan's is like 4 hours, and I'm like, how can you do this for 4 hours?
Yeah, it's a lot. How did you guys get started?
I don't know. A lot of people on Twitter were like, okay, you should start doing YouTube, and he likes to talk to people, so then we just started inviting people on, and then that's just kind of how.
And how's the comedy scene in Dallas?
Well, we actually went to see Matt Iceman recently, like last weekend.
Yeah, he was really good.
This past weekend, he was really good.
Where was he playing?
He was playing at Hyenas Comedy Club in Dallas. There's 3 of them. There's one in Dallas, one in Plano, and one in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should try and come down here sometime. We'll have to
I'd love to go to Dallas. Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, I love Iceman. We went and hung out with him. What's going on? Do these people not know I'm talking to you? These sirens everywhere. We went and hung out with him on the set of American Ninja Warrior last week. It was great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was really good. I think of all the audiences we went through that we've been in, because we've seen a few comics. We've seen Owen Benjamin. We've seen Kevin Brennan. I think
who was the one that we saw 2 weeks ago? It was not at Hyenas though. It was another guy. Remember when there was like a feminist opener?
Oh, John Caparulo.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to see him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the audience was the best.
Yeah, because I don't know, what he was saying. His jokes were really good. All of his jokes have pretty much landed like they're like knockout punches.
Yeah.
You know, he's never let up, and that was probably not the raunchiest, but like the craziest audience we've been in.
Yeah, sometimes we like a couple audiences that we've been to Owen Benjamin's show. They're just he did a joke and they'd be like offended. I'm like, really, this is Dallas. Come on.
Yeah, Dallas is supposed to be like conservative, not politically correct.
Yeah.
But you know how Dallas can be sometimes. You're like.
They think that they're better than us.
I want to get there. I'll talk to. I'll see if Kevin Brennan can organize it, because we're starting to do a tour of me and him and Gino. The 3 of us are starting to go on tour. So
I'm sure he'd love to see me again. We can talk about guns, and he can punch me in the face if he wants to.
It sounds wonderful. It'll be great.
Yeah, I mean, is there any political issue that you're strong about, or it doesn't really concern you as much as like Anthony or Kevin apparently, or anything like that, or not really?
No, I mean, I have my leanings, but I haven't really strong sided anything because I can't vote yet until I'm a citizen. So, my opinion is, although worthy, it's moot within the political arena. So, until that point in time where I can vote and I'm really aware of what's happening where I live and in my borough and in my state and on a federal level, then at that point in time, then maybe I'll get more upset about that stuff. But right now I kind of, we like laughing about it, and we clearly have our side that we pick on the show, and it's just fun for now.
What about in Canada? Since you're a citizen in Canada, is there anything in Canada that you're kind of
Yeah, Canada's far too liberal right now, so it's got to swing back to the a more conservative point. I mean, Canada is real, and I say this a lot. I'm like, it is a gay country. Like, it is just really because they strive so hard to be the opposite of the United States. So their immigration policies are incredibly lax. That being said, I mean, they have good law enforcement for the most part. There was the case of the incel that drove over all those people, wanted to be shot by the cop, and the cop wouldn't shoot him. So, you know, police training like that, I don't think you see that. And I'm a huge supporter of the police in this country. And you see an incident like that in this country, like, shoot the motherfucker. But they're like, why is he not shooting him? And it additional training where he's like, all right, let's wait and get this nerdy virgin down to the hospital. So it's you know, I left the country because of my career, but there's a lot of problems in Canada that they don't acknowledge. It's a really expensive place. There's issues with immigration. There's issues with political correctness. It's really, I went to Just for Laughs last year, and it was just like, where do they find this many lesbians? Like, there was so many lesbian comics on the show, and I was like, there can't be this many lesbian comics in the world. It's like every lesbian comic they plucked, and they're like, you're ready to go out and bomb in front of these people. So it was sad, but we'll see. I think it's going to swing back and come a little more right.
Is there an election coming up there? I'm not really.
Doug Ford is running for council. He's Rob Ford's brother. You remember the crackhead mayor? Doug Ford's like running for council, and he won his party. So everyone's like, you can't let this guy. He used to be like a hashish dealer and stuff, but people love him because the left has gone so far. They're like, the same thing's happening there that happened here when Obama was in office.
Yeah, when people were fed up with Bush, and they put in Obama, and
yeah.
people were fed up with Obama, and then put in Trump, and it's like, see, it's what you get. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think of Trump? In your opinion, like, what do you think?
I think he's incredibly entertaining. I think he does a lot of good stuff that people don't talk about. You know, he accomplishes a lot, but because of his personality, that gets overlooked. And then there's the general hatred of from the masses. These people that hate him so much that even when he does do something great, they don't acknowledge it. So it's fun. I love having him as a president. It's wonderful.
Have you lost, or maybe not necessarily lost, but just like had some fellow comedian, I don't know, colleagues or friends, whatever you want to call them, that because you weren't so anti-Trump, they stopped speaking to you, or they were just like, I'm not going to associate with you anymore?
Most of the people that are professional comics know that comedy comes first. And yes, some people encountered me where they were like, I made my views on illegal immigration very clear on a big show. And someone was like, well, how could you feel like this? How? And I was like, because I'm a legal immigrant. And they're like, well, wouldn't you want it to be easier for other people to be? I'm like, I think that immigrants that move here become so enamored by the country and love the country so much, and also believe in like the antiquated version of America, which is like, you know, in the 80s, and when Reaganomics was happening and everybody looked at it like this great country and everything was booming. That's how most immigrants of my age or slightly younger look at America, where they love it as this dreamland where you can come and live the American dream. And that's something to be worked for if you're not born. I mean, I would have loved if I could just go to the airport and be like, I want to live in the United States. It didn't happen that way. It took me years, and it took me a lot of money, and I had to gather all these press clippings, and I had to get really good at what I do in order to move here. And it was that way 10 years ago. And now for people to call for it and just be like, no, anybody should be let in. I'm like, well, what the fuck did I spend, you know, 4 or 5 years of my life to get ready to move here for? Why would that have to happen? So I don't like that double standard.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of the people illegally have to where they spend a lot of time going through paper.
Hang on, can you say that again? It wasn't. You're really choppy for some reason, sound wise.
Oh, okay, I think I was echoing. No, I was just saying that I don't understand how people can support illegal immigration if you're.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's kind of because I mean, I guess in your case, you obviously you go hard work and trying to become a citizen. And then people just come and go, okay, you know, so it must be like you.
Yeah.
Because you've worked so hard.
Yeah, I worked really hard to get here. So I don't think that it should just be handed out. But that's also, I think, what will make me a great American is because I believe in that work ethic, and I believe that, you know, you work for what you get. So, and I think a lot of immigrants have that same stance. A lot of legal immigrants, not these animals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously he wasn't.
Yeah.
She was talking about MS-13. That's what we were talking about.
He was talking about MS-13, and then to watch people love to change his quotes so quickly. He said, all immigrants are animals. No, he didn't say that. He was talking about MS-13. And then you see the news, and you're like, oh, these are animals. I mean, and then somebody posted a meme of a deer that was like, this is offensive to me.
Oh,
guys, can we wrap up because I have to go do a show at 10 o'clock. But this is lovely. Did you have?
But yeah, again,
my pleasure. You guys are great. It's really fun to talk with both of you, and I love the way that you wore a tank top that barely fits. It looks fantastic, and it's a good look. Any last questions? What's the tattoo on your wrist?
Which one? I have.
This one.
This one. That one's a lotus. And then this one is just a vine.
I love the lotus. Very nice car, and it's it's not a car. That's a.
I have tattoo.
What's yours?
Like a musical anchor.
Yeah.
And then this one's from a video. He's a big gamer, you know.
Nice. And then tattoo of armpit hair that looks super realistic.
I try to get rid of it, but
yeah. All right, guys.
All right,
man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. You taking the time to come with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for looking me up, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.
You too. Have a good show.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.